Any serious study of the Bible must grapple with culture. The biblical texts were written in worlds profoundly different from our own, and meaning does not travel across time unchanged. Interpretation is always filtered through cultural lenses, ancient and modern alike. Failing to account for those lenses risks misunderstanding the text, misapplying its message, or projecting contemporary assumptions onto ancient writings. The importance of cultural lenses in interpretation. Every reader approaches the Bible shaped by their own cultural background, language, politics, religion, education, and social norms. A modern reader, especially one shaped by Western individualism and secularism, does not instinctively read the Bible the way its original audiences would have heard it. Biblical authors assumed shared knowledge about social hierarchy, honor and shame, communal identity, divine activity in everyday life. Because these assumptions are no longer intuitive, modern readers must reconstruct the ancient cultural world in order to hear the text on its own terms. Interpretation, therefore, is not simply about translating words, but about translating worldviews, differences between ancient and modern worldviews. The ancient world was not secular. There was no category for religion as a private sphere, separate from politics, economics, or daily life. Divine forces were assumed to be actively involved in nature, warfare, fertility, disease, and political success. Modern readers often assume rational explanations over supernatural causation, individual belief over communal identity, separation of religion and state. Ancient readers assumed precisely the opposite. Gods, or God, were part of the fabric of reality, not an optional belief system. Political realities of the biblical world. One of the most important cultural factors shaping the Bible is imperial domination. For most of its history, Israel was not sovereign. Instead, it lived under the control or threat of powerful empires. Biblical authors wrote under Egyptian control or memory of enslavement, Assyrian and Babylonian conquest, Persian imperial administration, Greek cultural dominance, Roman political rule. Politics and theology were inseparable. Victories, defeats, exile, and return were all interpreted theologically. There was no separation of religion and state. National gods were tied to national success, and loyalty to a deity was often expected as a civic duty. This makes Israel's theology, especially its resistance to imperial gods, culturally radical. The religious environment of antiquity. The ancient Mediterranean and Near Eastern worlds were overwhelmingly polytheistic. Most societies worshipped many gods, each responsible for specific domains, such as fertility, war, storms, or cities. Key features of ancient religion included polytheism, multiple gods coexisting without exclusivity. Cultic practice, rituals, sacrifices, festivals, and sacred spaces mattered more than belief or doctrine. Limited concern with the afterlife. Religion focused on securing prosperity, protection, and survival in this life. There were no creeds, no systematic theology, and little emphasis on personal belief. What mattered was performing the correct rituals to maintain divine favor. Distinctives of Israelite religion. Against this cultural backdrop, Israelite religion stands out sharply. Monotheism. Israel eventually came to insist on the exclusive worship of one God. This was not merely a preference, but a demand for loyalty that rejected all other gods. Such exclusivity was culturally unusual and politically risky in an imperial world. Covenant. Israel's relationship with God was framed as a covenant, a binding agreement resembling ancient political treaties. God committed to Israel, and Israel was obligated to live according to divine commands. This transformed religion from ritual appeasement into relational responsibility. Law of Moses. The Law of Moses governed not only worship, but ethics, social justice, economics, and community life. Unlike surrounding cultures, Israel's God demanded moral behavior, not just ritual correctness. Justice, care for the vulnerable, and communal responsibility became theological obligations. Centralized worship. Eventually, Israelite worship was centralized in a single location, the Temple in Jerusalem. This was unique in the ancient world, where multiple shrines and local deities were normal. Centralization reinforced monotheism and national religious identity. Development of synagogues after the temple's destruction. The destruction of the Jerusalem temple, first by Babylonia, 586 BCE, and later by Rome, 70 CE, forced a major religious transformation. Without a temple, sacrifice could no longer function as the center of worship. In response, synagogues developed as places of prayer, teaching, scripture reading, community gathering. This shift marked a move from sacrifice to study, interpretation, and communal practice, laying the groundwork for rabbinic Judaism and profoundly shaping early Christianity as well. Religion became portable, adaptable, and centered on text rather than place. Concluding perspective. The Bible was written in a world of empire, ritual, and communal identity, far removed from modern assumptions about religion and society. Understanding its cultural context allows readers to see how radical many of its claims were: exclusive monotheism, moral law, covenantal obligation, and resistance to imperial power. Interpreting the Bible responsibly, therefore, requires humility, recognizing that ancient texts speak from worlds not our own, and discipline, taking the time to understand those worlds before asking what the Bible might mean today. At Biblical Survey Print.